Hi, my name is Taylor, and I'll be discussing the effects of nonverbal communication on children and their emotions. Children are a lot more aware of nonverbal communication cues and leakage cues than we tend to realize. Therefore, it can dramatically harm their emotions if we aren't clear with them. So I'll be covering today when they begin to pick up on nonverbal communication cues, how they perceive it, and my own personal experience with my niece Reagan. The article I read is called A Journal of Nonverbal Behavior, and in this journal article, it was conducted an experiment with two groups, and the first group of children were put in a room and they watched a video where an individual tried 4 different types of beverages, and the first group watched the people either take a sip and then smile and say that they liked it, or they would frown and say that they didn't like it. And at the end of that, the children were able to tell, yes, somebody liked it, or no, somebody did not like it. The second group of children watched a video in which someone would take a sip of the drink and smile and then say that they didn't like it. And then another individual take a sip and frown and say that they did like it. And at the end of that video, the kids were able to tell that the person did not like the drink, or if they did, based on the facial expressions that they made. And in the end, all of the kids were successful, and it was proven that they were able to pick up on all of the leakage cues. So the interpersonal relationship that I'll be talking about and comparing this article to is with my niece Reagan, who is 5. And a few weeks ago, I had babysat her during the day. She had been pretty disruptive a little bit, and it just wasn't a very good day, so I told her that we couldn't have dessert after dinner. So during dinner, it was pretty quiet, there wasn't really a lot of talking, and at one point she looked at me and said, "Are you mad at me?" And I told her no, although my facial expression looked pretty upset. So she started to cry and said, "I don't want you to be mad at me anymore." And I realized that my leakage cue was that I looked still upset, so she was able to catch on to that, and therefore it made her extremely upset. So then I had to take a second to let her know that I wasn't upset with her, I was just upset maybe at something else or in the situation. Therefore, we have to make sure that we're being very clear with children, even if we are upset, that it isn't their fault, because otherwise this can be really detrimental in the long run, and they can have lower self-esteem. They can just have a lot more issues than a normal situation if they had just known that it wasn't their fault. So the relevance to this article and our chapter 2 of leakage cues is the fact that kids are able to tell if somebody is lying through the leakage cues, and this can be as early as when they're infants. And if you're holding them and if the mother or father is clearly upset, then the baby will cry much more, because you can catch on to the leakage cues really quickly. So the researchers tested the hypothesis to see if kids could pick up on these, and all the kids successfully knew when somebody was enjoying the drink or not enjoying the drink. And in conclusion, kids are very aware, and a lot more aware than we may think. So today I covered how children picked up on nonverbal cues and tactics, and how they can perceive it as upsetting, and then I discussed my own experience with my niece Reagan. And although we may believe that nonverbal behavior doesn't affect children, it actually does, and it's very important to speak very clearly and truthfully with them to help build up their confidence and self-esteem, especially for in the long run when they become adults. Thank you.